Hello and welcome to this video cast. Um, this is about how to set up and Rancher on DigitalOcean and why you would use Rancher. All right, so do you need, what is Rancher and why would you need it? Well, it helps manage containers. So if you're setting up Docker containers, you want to deploy them to your host, you want to manage them on the host, monitor them, pause them, create different containers from a catalog, a pre-configured catalog, then yeah, you'll want Rancher. Hello, my name is Steve Williams. I'm President and CEO of Zillow. So why Rancher again? Well, it's a complete platform for running containers, and also Rancher is actually completely open source. So there's some other options out there that are partially open source. This one actually is completely open source. So it helps you deploy containers, manage containers. It helps it supports several cluster types like Google's, Swarm clusters, and Mesos clusters. It has access policies so that you can set up for your DevOps or developers to have access to the interface and manage your Docker containers. And it also manages multiple clusters. So it's very cool. It's very easy to set up. And here we go. So where to run Rancher? Well, you can run it on your, like a developer laptop or desktop, institutional server, VM in the cloud, really anywhere that Docker can run, you can run Rancher. Okay, so on this demo, we're going to use DigitalOcean and create a Droplet and run Rancher on that. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is create our Droplet so that we can set up Docker and then set up Rancher and access Rancher. So here we are on pretty much a clean account. I'm going to create a Droplet. So I'm going to change this to the latest version of Ubuntu with 64-bit. Now you have to have a minimum of 1 gig, so we're just going to go with the minimum here. And then private network, backup. I'm going to add my SSH key. All right, so let's give this host a name. Rancher. Let's go create. So right now it's provisioning our host, getting our host ready for us to access and use. So once it finishes provisioning it and we're able to access it, what we'll do is we'll update Ubuntu. Then we'll add the GPG key for the Docker repository. And then we'll add the Docker repository and do another update, apt-get update, in order to pick up those changes. All right, it looks like our IP address is ready. Let's see if it's actually, network is picking it up. All right, cool, we're in. So let's go ahead and I'm not using sudo because I'm already root. Once that finishes updating, we will add the GPG key. All right, that's done. Now let's add Docker repository. Boom, done. Now let's go back and update so we can pick up those changes. Okay, so next thing we want to do is we want to clear the cache so that we're actually using the Docker repository. Okay, it looks good, everything's good. Install candidate, version table. Now let's install Docker. Once that finishes, we'll check the status of Docker. All right, let's see what we got here. And it's active, Docker is active, it's running. Everything was good. Okay, the next step is to actually launch Rancher. And so remember, Rancher is actually a Docker container. So we're going to run this. It's going to download start extracting and running the container. Once this is complete, then we'll actually tail the Docker logs, and we'll grab the container ID that it reports back to us when it finishes, and then we'll tail the logs so that we can see that it's installed and or it's actually starting up. We'll watch it start up. One thing you'll want to do if you're looking at the notes here, it says sudo docker logs f container ID. This is going to be the ID that it reports back to us, so you won't actually have container ID as part of the command. So we'll take that out, copy the ID. Boom, there we go. Now we're watching, it's loading configurations, starting up the server. And while that's happening, let's move on a little bit. So it's running on port 8080. So that's what we'll use to access it here in a second. We'll go ahead and grab the IP address and then access it at port 8080. And then one of the first things it's going to tell us, there's kind of two things that it tells us right away to start doing in order to use Rancher. And that's one is that we have to set up a host, which we're not going to do in this video. And then the other is you need to set up access rights, because when we first access the interface, it won't ask us for any permissions. And there's several ways that you can set up permissions. You can use the Active Directory, Azure, GitHub, local permissions like you would maybe on Jenkins by default, or OpenLDAP. So let's see what we got here. Let's see, copy this. All right. And then, yep, as mentioned, adding your first host, you must add at least a single Linux host that supports Docker version 1.10.3 or higher and be able to reach the Rancher server via HTTP. Right, pretty straightforward, easy to do right here. If you're doing this on DigitalOcean, DigitalOcean will give you a API key that you will plug in here, and it's really just like creating a droplet in the DigitalOcean interface. So notice up here we have an exclamation mark and then access control. It's telling us that we need to access control not configured. Right now it's kind of a pretty big security hole. These are the different options we have. Local, it defaults to GitHub. If you already have a team set up on GitHub with your repositories, then that's pretty cool. You can add them here. Otherwise, you can do local or one of these other options. And that's actually it for this video. So hope you enjoyed. Thank you.